Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort, meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today. The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Bill Ramsey was born in 1943 in Essex, England. After 9 years of a relatively normal childhood, he was overcome one afternoon with an icy chill. The stress of the chill caused him to sweat, and in his words, the sweat froze to him as if he went into a meat locker, wet. He was then overcome with a powerful nausea, and he felt compelled to run on all fours. He had transformed into something feral, primal, and powerful. Feelings of extreme rage and hatred filled his mind, and when his parents tried to calm him down, he tore up fence posts like they were blades of grass and gnawed the steel wire of the garden fence with his teeth. Eventually, the beast-like rage left him, and he returned to the innocent child he was before. But for how long? In this case file, join the theorists as they try to explain why Bill Ramsey won't pay his bar tab in the South End Werewolf.
Welcome to Alien Theorists Theorizing, Case File 228, Bill Ramsey, the Werewolf of South End. Werewolves of South End. I'm Braden.
I'm Zell.
And I'm Andrew.
Oh, werewolves.
Not a lot of I always fuck this word up. Lycanthropy.
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 We haven't talked about a lot of werewolves on this. And originally, when I put forward this one, I literally was just like looking down the list, and one was Bill Ramsey, the demonic werewolf of London. And I was like, based on that alone, I was like, yeah, I'll put it in the calendar here.
Sounds right up our alley.
It's crazy that lycanthropy is a real fucking thing.
Yeah, so lycanthropy or lycanthropy or however you want to pronounce it, just pretty much there's two versions of it. There's like the medical condition where someone legit thinks they are a wolf or animal kind of thing.
The type you get bitten by a vampire and you gotta get plugged with a silver bullet. That's the other kind.
Or the folklore version, or on the show, the real version. Where the only version where a human can actually change shape into a werewolf. In some situations, it's they walk on 2 legs, some on 4, but they always look, we've talked about them before, either like a dogman or a werewolf, like a
wolfman.
A wolfman, yeah, like a savage, jacked werewolf. So in this case, this is the only, I guess one of the only documented cases of like a psychopathic werewolf man who seems to go on quite the little spree over his life. So let's start the story off. Mr. Ramsey, born in the South End of Essex in England, 1943. seemed to live up, I don't know, from all accounts, he lived a pretty normal childhood. Normal child.
Let's be very clear here. For like a majority of his life, he lived a pretty normal life, except for certain incidences in his life.
A couple times in his life.
Sprinkle in a little wolfness here and there.
A little wolfness.
And he was a young child, very imaginative. He'd go play by himself in the woods, swinging swords or whatever little kids do,
making
imaginary worlds, imaginary friends.
Sticks.
And to be honest, this first account of him having the call of the wolf, I mean, I think every one of us and every kid who's ever been, if you didn't go to a school like in elementary school with a kid who was an animal, you know what I mean? Did you even go to school, public schools?
we all know this fucking kid. This is the kid with the rat tail.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
We called him Fire Chew. He had a rat tail.
Right? He's got the rat tail. He's the one that's eating pencil crayons, snapping those things off, maybe munching on the occasional boog. We've got our very own lizard caveman.
Yeah.
Guy thinks he's a lizard.
Should we get a couple little shots in him and
off he goes. But in this case, I mean, Mr. Ramsey was a 9-year-old child, just seemingly having an average day, playing in the backyard, mucking around in the dirt. When it felt like he described it as like a sweeping, like cold kind of like enveloped him.
It's funny. He distinctly described it as going from a hot summer day and stepping into a meat locker.
Right? Yeah. He described it as like whatever it was, the fear of it like made him perspire, and then it seemed to like freeze on his body is how he described it. That's how it felt.
Fucking weird, man.
So I've only experienced this before when you play hockey in the middle of winter and you just get off the ice for a shift and it's freezing in the arena. You sit down for 2 minutes, you're frozen.
You sure you didn't experience that when you're up against that wall doing half Hortons or fucking Pasadena?
I was perspiring. That's for damn sure. It was leaking from all ends.
That's fair.
But it's and then it seemed like a overwhelming stench, like a nausea, right? Ooh. And he couldn't stop himself from vomiting. So it pretty much like it compelled him to like run towards the ocean on all fours like an animal. And this whole time he's seeing visions of wolves, right? He's like feels like he's a wolf at this point.
And at this point of the story, like looking at this again, like that's like the kid that I went to elementary school with, Fire Chew. He would like run around the forest in elementary school, and he would just like growl at people and shit. Like he just thought he was in like grade 3 or 4, and he was like an animal. I was like, that was it. Hey, there's Fire Chew,
just don't give him
doing
any
his
attention.
thing over there.
Careful.
And so this is like, to me at the beginning, I'm like, okay, well, what's so strange about this? But, what happens after this is that, his mom comes out and is like, hey, rings the little dinner bell. Ramsey, like little William, get in. It's time for dinner, right?
Bill.
Oi, Bill.
Oi, Bill.
It's time for supper.
My mother's a very jacked lady. A deep voice.
And Bill said at this time, like he said he just wasn't a child anymore. He felt something inside him change, something twisted, and
I just like on that cool breeze. I see like he gets dusted with this cool breeze, and you're a werewolf. It just blows right past him.
But he was seemingly in like a trance, and he was going into like. He said the images of wolves vanished from his head, and instead was this blinding animalistic rage.
Violent rage.
And he started to thrash and gnaw on the garden fence and the garden fence post. His mom came out and she's like, "Oi, Bill, you better cut that out before I get your father."
Oi.
That's all straight.
Yeah, it's somewhere in between.
This makes it like unbelievably worse because Bill then goes just full on primal wolf rage.
Well, where she made her mistake, right? She fucked up. She should have just rolled up a piece of newspaper and swatted him in the ass. Problem solved.
Works on every kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in this time, like it seemed like he gained like supernatural strength. The story goes that he like was pulling the wooden fence posts out of the ground and like swinging them around, chewing on the wire.
Concrete. They were concreted in, and he pulled out.
Crazy,
right?
And he's what, 9 years old at this point in time?
9.
So even I'm gonna say like, okay, maybe someone got lazy making the fence. They didn't dig them too deep. even the fact that the weighted on one end with concrete, like it's gonna be tough for a 9-year-old to be busting out and swinging.
If they weren't concreted and they're just wooden posts dug in, he's 9. He doesn't have muscles yet, or he shouldn't.
Even for someone who's in like an excited delirium, for a 9-year-old, that would be impressive. Because like you can see like grown men in excited delirium taking like fucking 5-10 people to take them down, right? But for like a 9-year-old, just to uproot a fucking fence post that's been cemented in, start swinging it around, all while, you know, like that's fucking
like
crazy.
He's baring his teeth and he's chewing, like gnawing at the fence post and the metal fence and everything, just gnawing and gashing at it to the point where it's like he's like causing himself to bleed from his mouth from the metal, just gnawing at it. His parents are like, fuck this.
Go get your gun. This kid's fucking, it's done. This kid's gone.
They flee into the house.
Too far gone.
Yeah. Well, they run into the house because they're like, whoa, like what the fuck's going on?
Spray him with the hose.
And Ramsey just kind of slowly snaps out of it. He just kind of comes back to earth with not a lot of recollection of the violent outbursts. He's just kind of like a blind rage. But, you know, the parents were a little fearful to let him in the house and check on him because they were worried about he's just going to blow into this violent rage again. They eventually go out and they tend to him. He's all bloodied up and they tend to his wounds in his mouth and stuff and his lips. And they don't know what. They don't know what happened to him. But you would think at this point that they're like, holy shit, like we're going to be in some trouble here because, he's obviously has something this is going to be a reoccurring thing. We got to take him to the doctor. This would be
he's fucking rabid.
Devastating. Yes.
Yep.
They don't take him to the doctor.
They bury it.
Honestly, I kind of struggle with that for a little bit because I'm like, why the fuck not? But at the same time, I bet you there's a part of you, A, that you're maybe in a little bit of denial from what you saw, and B, worried about the fact, like, this is your child. You might, like, they might see something in this kid and be like, we got to lock this fucking kid up. Like, he's got to go. You're not going to see your son again because he's a fucking maniac.
And honestly, this is what, 53-ish? He was born in 53, so,
he was born in 40. Maybe? Yeah, so it was his early 50s. He was born in 43, so he had that.
Early 50s. So
there's still
like, you know what?
The medical treatment.
They're still lobotomizing people.
And electroshock and shit.
So we, Mrs. Ramsey, we leeched him. We drilled a couple holes in his head. We electrocuted him. Still thinks he's a wolf. Fuck,
he thinks he's a slug now.
We made it drools.
We made it a little better. We made it a little better, but
we fixed him.
It's one of those things where I think there's such a stigma with mental illness that they're like, we like, this is going to look bad on all of us if we bring him in. They don't know what possessed him. They don't know what happened. They just bury it. But funny enough, Ramsey doesn't have any more issues. Right?
Well, that's the end of his childhood seems to be more or less normal.
Yeah.
For the next 15 years, he just lives a normal life. Till his early 20s. He grows up, he gets married, he has kids. According to everyone, all his friends, he seemed like just a normal guy, hardworking, fellow carpenter. Working a great trade.
What is it about carpentry that attracts werewolves and vampires? That's what I want to know.
Something about this, I don't know.
What's that thing where you repent and you flog yourself?
Oh, jeez.
What's that? That's what's working construction's like. It's like
self-deprecating.
Every time you go in, it's a punishment, right?
Hence why I only lasted a week.
Yeah.
I lasted 10 years and it was torture by the end.
Fuck that.
Though I still swing a hammer here and there. But then it kind of, after about 15 years, he seemed to start having dreams, and that dreams always were like of him chasing after his wife. And then she'd always stop and look back and like a expression of horror, like terrified. And he'd wake up in a cold sweat and like filled with dread.
I mean, and it would take a lot to shake this woman because no offense to good old Bill Ramsey here, even on his best day, not a fucking looker.
Not
a handsome guy. Right?
Hard to look at.
Like,
Hell of a carpenter.
yeah.
That's what got her.
Well, because he just keeps using his fucking head to pushing all the nails.
Yes, that's what it looks like. We're not lying.
Thick
Hashtag
forehead.
look it up.
Thick forehead.
Yeah.
And then sometimes he like almost could hear and like it would seem like a panting of an animal that would seem like when he woke up, like a panting of an animal that seemed to be inside the room.
He would literally like kind of wake up preparing for an attack. Like he's like, something's about to attack me.
Like was something was like under the bed or beside the bed or just outside the door.
So where are you supposed to escape when the creature is lurking inside you?
Right?
Oh, exactly. So
Right?
then he realized that the sounds were coming from his own throat. Oh. He was making them. He would wake up, be making these sounds like he's living his dream. He's bringing his dream back into the real world. That's what it seemed like to him.
So, and he's obviously panicking at this point because like he knows what happens when he was a child and he's starting to get that, like that feeling again of like dread, that like that animalistic something. So part of him, is probably getting anxiety, thinking like, what the fuck? I'm getting that same feeling of when I flew into that fucking blind rage as when I was a kid.
It's crazy too because it's got to be such an I mean, obviously we all have memories from when we're 9, but to be able to like reflect on it that clearly, and like that's got to be such a strong fucking sense for him, especially too when you described Zell that like that guttural nausea. Like there's really not a lot of smells that can make you nauseous like that, like instantly.
Right? So
like it's so fucking bizarre, man.
So he has these dreams for a while and then they suddenly just stop. They evaporate. Like they're gone. And he seems to live on for another 15 years, just with no incident. He raises a family. Now he's a master carpenter. He's probably had a few apprentices at this point.
And he's a stand-up guy, well-liked in the community, friends, no ill reports of him. He's an upstanding citizen. Everyone likes the guy.
Seems a normal guy. Not a looker, but a normal guy. Normal stand-up guy. Probably a great guy to have a beer with. So, that one night, him and his buddies, they go out to the bar, toss a few drinks back. When he gets that icy chill that overtook him, the memories of when he's 9 come racing back. Right? He's in the bar. All of a sudden, starts sweating profusely. He's chilled. So he excuses himself, heads out to the bathroom. That nausea comes back. When he looks into the mirror, what does he see?
He sees a wolf. He sees himself as a wolf. Looking back at him.
It's interesting because, like, from what I understand too, like this night, I think Bill got a little bit carried away. He was on the sauce. He was tying one on with the boys, which he didn't do regularly. So I'm wondering if like whatever he had that was withholding those feelings or whatever the fuck it was inside him, like with the alcohol, like he kind of lost a little bit of control over that.
I thought that too, but then I was like, in 15 years, the guy hasn't had a couple nights with the boys.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Like, is it Saturday? I don't know. Maybe it was Saturday with the boys.
Saturday for the boys.
Fucking wild, man. Saturday.
Right. Another theory that I heard. I actually heard. I think we got a recording of it. Is that this all kind of happened when it was Bill's turn to buy a round?
Oh, really?
Oh.
Really? Oi, Bill! It's your turn to buy a round, Bill.
Oi, no problem, boy. No. No, Bill. Only werewolf.
Bill, we doing this shit again? Come on, man. It's your turn to buy a round.
Shit you say? I can't. What? Money?
All right. Well, we should get out of here. Hey, boy, let's at least split the check, eh?
Split. Werewolf. Don't go Dutch.
That's convenient, Bill. That's very convenient. All right. You're off the hook again.
Okay.
So Bill escapes another bar tab.
Yeah. It's very convenient, right? Like, I've tried it myself since reading this case. I just walked out of a restaurant. Someone tried to stop me. I snarled and they just let me go. It's crazy.
Could you imagine that cell job though? Like he's just hunched back, crawling around the bar, making noises just to get out of like $17 bill.
Yeah. And everyone knows it. They're just sitting watching him. They're like,
For fuck's sakes, he's doing it again.
Goddamn Bill. But you know, whatever happened to Bill, like in all seriousness, in this pub, worried his friends because Bill came back and he's like, you know, like we got to go. Something's wrong. It's my turn to pay. I'm not paying the bill. Let's go. But they see and they stop a good night. They stop a fun night to be like, okay, well, like, all right, something's wrong with Bill. Like, let's get out of here.
Well, think about it. Bill, like, he gets up, he stumbles to the bathroom, he sees the wolf in the mirror, he has the sweats, the nausea. He comes back, he'd be noticeably different to his friends.
Yeah.
I mean, let's put this out in the world though. Like let's say we're all fucking having some drinks. I get up abruptly, fucking book it to the bathroom, come back fucking sweaty and pale. It's like, oh, he's just bucking in the bathroom.
Himself.
Well, he shit himself or he's puking, right? Like I wouldn't jump right away and be like, holy fuck, it's got to be werewolf. Nothing else explains this. Right? Like I wouldn't be that concerned personally.
Would you come? Like, it depends how you came back. If you came back like, hey guys, like we really got to go. We really got to go.
Buddy, if we're all out and then I puked in the bathroom, I'd be coming back with fucking snot coming down my nose. We got to go now. I don't feel good. Oh.
No, actually, no.
Call Jessica.
Exactly what we do. We just like, all right, put him in a cab. See you later, bud.
Yeah.
Good luck. Yeah, so he convinces his friends, like, they got to go. They got to go now. So I'm guessing we're back in the day of drinking and driving. It's
yeah, these guys don't have seatbelts.
It's par for the course. It's par for the course. There's no seatbelts. So they start driving home when Bill, that guttural, gets that fucking a deep growl in his throat. He starts fucking growling and chomping his lips, licking his lips, chomping. His friends are just like, what? Like watching, they're terrified. Like, what the fuck's wrong with Bill, man?
Could you imagine?
And then it seems like
one of the boys just starts fucking tripping balls like that. And you're like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, his hands. He just
his hand
starts gnawing on your leg while you're trying to drive. You're like, Bill, what the fuck, man?
It was probably the same reaction we had to Lizard Caveman turning into full like lizard at the bar.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on with this guy here?
Yeah, he raises his arms up and kind of makes them like, he curls them and make them look like claws. Yeah, arches his back, he's changing shape.
My question is, did maybe they ask him to pitch in for gas money?
Hey, Bill, you owe us. Okay. All right, Bill's not paying. Bill's not paying. I guess. Put it on his tab.
But yeah, it gets worse though, because as he's doing this, they're all like, "Oh, Bill, Bill, you okay? What the fuck is going on?" He just turns to the passenger beside him, because I kind of guessed from this that he's in the back seat just by the account of this, and he just leaps onto his friend, starts clawing at him, and attempting to bite him. So like they're in full panic mode here in the car.
Bill's gone feral in the back seat here.
Yeah, like what the fuck is going on here?
Right? Like
what did they put in his drink?
Right, exactly. So they're fighting, like the back seat's fighting with Bill. Passengers turn around, they're trying to restrain him in the car. It's pandemonium. The driver just rips over to the side of the road to pull over, because for him, like, you can't really see you're driving. You might think there's a fight going on. And then when you pull over and you see your buddies fucking snarling and shit.
Your buddy's going for the jugular in the back seat.
Yeah. And they were having a hard time. There was, however many of them were there, all accounts are that they could not restrain him.
The story goes, it was impossible to restrain him. He was possessing superhuman strength, similar to when he was 9. Like one grown man fighting off, say there's 4 other guys in the car, 1v4, and there's no chance. Like they cannot get him down.
especially if you're violently thrashing, like in such a confined space, like there's not much you can do. So it, like eventually after a few minutes, they kick the door open and they basically just like force him out of the car. They force the fight out of the car. They get him outside and then they all jump back in and just lock the doors. And sitting outside, Bill kind of just, comes back to, calms down. No recollection of what just happened.
Just like whatever spell had overtaken him just like wore off quickly. Just like, and then he just forgot what happened. He's like, what'd I do? What?
And his friends shaken up. They obviously don't want him back in the car. They're like, yo, like you're not coming back
in the car. I don't want to see this motherfucker ever again.
Listen, I'm running him over.
One thing to fuck, you don't want to pitch in for beer. You don't want to pitch in for gas. Now you're fucking trying to bite us. All right. Like,
come on,
you're just cheap. And now you're an asshole.
Yeah.
But Bill agrees. Bill recognizing that something's wrong. He can't remember. He just is like, that's fine, guys. I'm going to walk home. Something's wrong. And he just hoofs it.
Yeah, I'll walk home from
now, question is,
from here.
Was he on all fours?
No, he
had recovered at this point.
He had recovered. So I'm sure it was a long walk for him to think about this. But he just puts this incident behind him. He's I guess hopeful. Again, early 80s. This isn't a good time to have mental health issues, especially something violent like this. So he's just trying to forget it. And he doesn't have another incident. But 18 months later, he begins to experience chest pains and he breaks out into a cold sweat.
Bill's having a jammer.
Right?
Sounds like
that's exactly what he
thinks.
thinks.
Too many Yorkshire puddings here.
Yep.
Too much blood pudding there.
Yeah.
Too much bangers and mash.
He, concerned, he checks himself into a local emergency room thinking that, holy shit, like
he's at the age.
Yeah,
I'm having a jammer. I'm sure if he's anything like my dad or anyone's construction dad, jammers on the job site are 100% possibility at all times.
Clogged arteries, high blood pressure from stress equals not good times.
And I mean, in dog years, he's up there, right?
Oh, that's true too. Good point.
He's
right? So
he's fucking really.
He's like 105 in dog years.
Well,
here?
at this point, what? He's 40. He's 40 years old.
Yeah. Old,
yeah, he's 100 and what are dog years? 10 years of dog a year or something? 7?
I think he times it by 7 until they get past 10 or something, and then it's times by 10.
Okay, well, he's 250 years old or something like that.
Yeah, he's up there.
He's up there.
75,000 years old.
He's fucking old.
That's fine.
He's been around a while.
Okay. All right.
So he gets in a room. He's on a bed, right? They're hooking him up to monitors and stuff. He's obviously got some anxiety, as you would if you're there thinking that you're having a heart attack. You begin to, get that feeling of mortality of like, holy shit, am I going to die? Am I going to be okay? A lot of nervousness. As he's getting hooked up and a nurse is examining him, a chill washes over Ramsey. And he recognizes this chill as the feelings he's had before these violent outbursts in the past.
He's now had it a few times throughout his life.
Here's a question for you. We know a common what do I want to say? A common ability of werewolves is a healing factor. I wonder if that was his body protecting himself from having the heart attack. Oh shit! Right?
Shit! I never even thought of that.
The jammer. That is the jammer kicks on
Hulk style.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if his healing factor kicks it. Like he's like, I gotta the whatever it wants to keep the host alive. This werewolf, that's whatever it's cursing him or whatever the fuck. So he, inspires the change to heal the heart muscle.
Oh, so he's got early onset heart attack. The arteries clogged. The heart's working overtime. It's getting stressed.
Yeah, like who needs PCI when you just fucking turn into a werewolf? You don't fucking just cleans the arteries right out.
Well, hey, I didn't even think about that. I like that one. Oh, look at this guy. Look at Andrew coming through with the fucking theories early.
Shit.
Bringing the noise, boys.
Now, the nurse examining him, unfortunately, didn't have any time to prepare. And Ramsey didn't even have time to give her a warning because as this chill washed over him, as fast as it hit him, the wolf inside came out and he flew into a violent rage. He turned and he grabbed. She was obviously working on his arm and he just lunged up and full force bit her forearm, drawing
Broke
blood,
skin, man.
broke skin. And
The dirtiest fucking teeth to bite you are human teeth, especially when you look Englishman teeth. No offense. But
Austin Powers probably.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I don't know if he looked like it, but that's. So he bites her, breaks skin, kind of throws her around the room. He then gets that hunch, and he starts with his hands curled in the claws. He starts running through the hospital, thrashing around on all fours, thrashing around, baring his teeth at people, and just destroying things, causing absolute fucking pandemonium in a hospital.
I imagine him just like running through, just like grabbing gurneys and just like one-handing them across the room, kicking doors open, shit's flying everywhere.
Well, yes, and several people were running because, as like in a hospital, especially in this kind of thing, it's not like there's just a security team there. So he's running into one or two people that are like, whoa, like trying to help him, right? Thinking he's in some sort of crisis, and he's just tossing these people aside with bizarre strength.
You know what comes to mind in this scene is fucking when Austin Powers is the White Devil. And he's got to fucking fight that little dude in the knapsack. You know, they unzip him and he's, running around. That's exactly how I picture fucking Ramsey.
Well, yes, except he's a grown-ass man. And you're, could you imagine working at the hospital today? You come around the corner and you're like, there's a fucking man on all.
Boys,
dude, they didn't have the type of drugs we have now where you go, that guy's on drugs.
Oh, no. Well,
they did.
They did. And I'll be like, candid, this is not like, we've seen this. This is friend of a friend. Seen this. This is not like, this is exciting. If you've ever seen never mind. It's people in excited delirium. They do fucking wild shit like this all the time. They don't necessarily like, I'm a werewolf, but they're like fucking batshit crazy, just like this. And it takes 5, 10, 12 fucking people to take these people down.
And a lot of times with these people in excited delirium, they die in these altercations. They have jammers.
It depends what's induced the excited delirium normally. But
so several people now come. Police officers are there. They tackle him to the ground. He's thrashing. They're having a hell of a time.
Give me fucking 5, 10, 15 of my dads right fucking now and dart this fucking guy as soon as humanly possible.
Well, they got cuffs on him, and even that didn't stop the violent. They got him in the cuffs, and he's still violently thrashing. And finally, someone just comes and just darts him with something, right? And he's out, sedated.
So they got him. So there was like a police officer that was just randomly there then, or something, or must have been.
There's you're hard pressed to not have a police officer at the hospital at like all times. To be honest,
I would say like police don't work there, but I would say
they kind of do.
There's usually one there for something.
They're usually like they will bring in anybody with any type of like violent mental health, anything like that at all times. And if this is a somewhat major city.
Yeah, I was going to say if it's a bigger city, I guess. Yeah, probably, or at least close enough that they'd be able to get there in a few minutes.
Yeah, if someone hit a button or something or made a call, we got a fucking grown-ass man who's thrashing around. No one can restrain him. Cops would be there fairly quickly. So I don't know. It's hard to say because we don't have any account of exactly how long this outburst lasts. So, it could have been anywhere from, 5 to 15 minutes.
I'm picturing one of those old skits where it's like, he's running around the hospital in fast motion. Knocking people left and right. But eventually, so they sedate him. He's out. I guess he would wake up whatever hours later, himself again. Forgot it all happened.
Yeah, he's getting filled in by the doctor. Like, imagine the guilt tummy of the doctor being like, yo, you were growling.
You fucking chomped that lady's arm pretty good, man. It's like,
what the fuck's going on with you, man? Like, the doctor's saying like, hey, listen, you should stay here. We want to monitor you. There's obviously something going on.
I would imagine he's like fucking dressed up like Hannibal Lecter right now as well.
Yeah.
Strapped down. Right? You have to.
Oh, yeah. Bite mask, fucking straight jacket, like everything.
That's what in the story it made me think like, how do you just let a guy like that go?
That's what I hear. Do you want to get into that now? Because I don't understand that at all. Especially when we get into the next story.
There's no charges are pressed. And
Well, which is pretty advanced for what is this, 1983?
Yep.
Yeah.
They're heavily taking the mental health avenue on this, which is seems to be somewhat ahead of the time at this point in time. Still, like, you assault a healthcare worker, there is going to be you're in fucking trouble, man. Like, it's like you are a danger to the public at this point in time.
That's what I thought for sure. So he wakes up.
My theory for that was that he must have known the nurse, and the nurse was like, "That's not like Bill."
Or like, here's another question: do they have universal health care there, or did they in the 80s, or did he just not want to pay his bill? Do we know?
Bill,
heart attack.
They're like, no, not Bill. Your name's Bill. That's what we're
let's go over arm out of his mouth. Like,
health coverage in England has been universal since the creation of the National Health Service in 1948.
What a fucking awesome country.
Yeah.
So the other thing that's interesting for this too is, Canada operates under the same rule of law as England.
Common law.
And common law. So one of the things is, it's not like the States where it's like, if this guy bites me and then the police go, Braden, what do you want to do? Do you want to charge this person? And I go, I'll think about it. That doesn't happen in Canada. It doesn't happen in London. The Crown prosecutors, they forward the charges for you. You don't get a choice. They decide. So I can't go like, hey, I'll let him off on this one. The Crown would look at it and they would go, hey, you can't bite people. So we're charging you with assault.
Theoretically, you're in a situation where somebody makes a, not a horrible, but like a little bit of an off-color, uninformed joke towards your wife, and you walk up and assault them on the face live on TV in front of everybody, and then you could just choose not to charge them after, and everything could be fine.
In the States,
but you could. Okay, that's a different.
Yeah,
right,
if there was some sort of award ceremony in Canada and you slapped the shit out of someone on stage,
hypothetically,
you wouldn't get a choice. Okay. You would be charged by the Crown for assault.
Yeah. Even though the guy's a comedian and probably uninformed.
You'd be charged, but you might not necessarily be convicted of the charge.
Yes, and then you could go on to like win an Academy Award and celebrate and dance to get jiggy with it, and everything's great.
It's possible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's plausible.
Right. Interesting. All right.
The other issue is that I'm like, okay, so maybe in this situation, the police in this encounter just didn't write a police report to Crown, right? The police would have to forward a report to Crown Counsel, and maybe because he never actually ended up in a police station, he was always at the hospital. The police just kind of went, he was never really under arrest for a charge. This is kind of a little muddy, so we're just going to leave him at the hospital. He's there. He's getting help. Everyone's okay. Let's just do it at that. And I could see that happening because it would be a little bit of a logistical nightmare you're like, okay, well, what was he in custody for? You're like, well, he wasn't in custody before. Now he's in custody. As I write in the reports, I could see it being a little messy. So I could see, some lazy policing happening. And that ended with, him just being let go. But that's the other thing about their medical service is very similar to ours, where it's, if you're an adult and you don't want to be there, they can't make you stay. And
unless you're sectioned, unless you're under arrest,
legally, legally put
obviously.
there,
which he's not. So he goes, listen, I don't remember
the doctor.
I don't want to stay, and he leaves because one of the things is he doesn't want the reputation of having to check himself into the loony bin, right?
So he has the reputation of gnawing on people's fucking limbs and rolling around the hospital on all fours, snarling.
Right, but I think in his head he's going like, well, I don't want to check myself in because there's probably such a stigma attached to that back in the early 80s.
Isn't it?
Stigmatism?
Okay, yeah.
I don't know.
Astigmatism?
Yeah.
Stigmatism? Astigmatism?
Come on,
Stigmata.
But so he's out of the hospital. He's out, and what happens next?
Out on bail fresh out of jail, man. California dreaming.
He's out, he's loose, but seemingly something similar will happen to him in the very near future. But before that, we're going to grab a quick beer, take a break. We'll be right back.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
We left off with Mr. Ramsey being released under his own free will from the hospital.
Hey, Mr. Ramsey, just please don't bite anybody else.
Hey, we know you.
Solid.
We know you shredded that girl's arm. You've been running around the hospital, knocking shit around. It's okay. Everybody gets one. We're gonna let you go. We're gonna let you go. So he goes home for 2 months. Seems to live as a normal life again. Back to work. When the same type of chills hit him again. So where does he go? The only place you go when you have, heart pain, and you go back to the hospital. So his second round back to the hospital.
Yeah, the difference this being is that word had spread. Like, his name is known. I'm guessing that his files are flagged, so when he comes in, like, they know. Like, there've been the Wolfman, the South End Werewolf.
It's where the first newspaper article came in when they got out. Like, he's acting like a werewolf, and they nicknamed him the South End Werewolf. Story is out in the public.
Literally, we're not talking tabloids here. This is front fucking page.
Front page. Yeah. The South End Werewolf. Everyone's like, what? They're like, yeah, there's a fucking werewolf running around the hospital biting people.
Fuck. You'd be shitting your pants.
All the nurses are terrified of him, rightly so, and the hospital staff is uncomfortable.
I don't get paid enough for this shit.
No
exactly.
Like, come on.
They have, I think they had people on standby just in case. I'm sure they have had safety precautions in the early 80s, just like they do now. If there's someone who's been violent in the past, or they're worried about that they have
purple bracelet.
And staff on standby to come and deal with it.
So he's back in pretty much, he's in there for the same thing. There's a couple versions of the story I read. One, the same thing happens to him. He fucking goes werewolf and he attacks the same girl and another worker. In another version of the story, it was a different worker. But either way,
I would lean to, because I read that too, and
for sure.
I lean to the different one. There's no
that other
way
chick's
they would.
Not going back in there.
She's not going back in
chance.
there. Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's what you would hope. But I mean,
this fucking guy, not happening.
No chance. Someone else.
I think even in the 80s, I think they would have had better been like, no, you're not on this file. He assaulted you before. We're going to keep you away.
She's probably still off on work.
It's only 2 months.
Yeah.
Right? So
you'd be traumatized from that shit. I have been bitten at work before. It's awful. I was starting an IV. We had to pin this person down. We're starting an IV, or a friend of friends starting an IV, doing their thing. And buddy sits up and latches onto my arm. And the coolest thing ever, the doctor just fucking cocked back and fucking just starched the guy mid-bite. And I'm like, looked at him and he's like, yeah. And I'm like,
yeah.
And I was ready to like,
London.
Yeah, and he's like, he looked at me like, kind of like, okay, finish the IV. And I'm like, okay, like fucking
knocks
shoe
the
marks
guy.
in my arm.
Did he pull out his notepad and write him a prescription for Krylenol? Toss it at him? Take 2 pills, you'll feel better in the morning.
So this is where the story got a little fragmented. It seems like though, so Bill, he goes werewolf again. He starts attacking people. But this time it seems to be a group of officers are on hand. Either they were alerted when he came in right away, just in case, or it happened to be there for a different reason. But either way, it seemed like there's a group of officers.
Makes sense for them. It makes sense for them to be like, okay, listen, this fucking guy's here again. Like, we need.
They had to sedate him. They probably had officers on standby. 100%.
Be interested to know what the security staff was like back in the 80s. Like, if they did have security at the hospital.
Yeah, the story goes a little fragmented, but these 4 officers come in and through his supernatural strength against dusting them all in the fray, one officer is hospitalized for 4 days. Like, he gets fucked up. But
Wow.
they ended up arresting him.
Absolutely.
And the same thing, he doesn't recall the events of the day.
Which it's interesting too, because and this is leading me. So either he is transforming into the werewolf and it's healing his heart muscle, or he's definitely not having chest pain, because you're not going to be walking in there with angina or, you know, having an actual, like, let's say he's having a STEMI or something like that, and then you proceed to fight fucking 5 or 6 cops, and then you just like walk away from this place. Like, no, he would have went into cardiac arrest. He would have been. Yeah, this guy would be fucking dead.
Unless you're like your theory.
Yeah, and that's my theory.
The lycanthropy reverses the heart attack.
And it's not uncommon. So like if, because I was wondering too, I'm like, hey, well, how would he have been released? Like, because he was released from jail. You have an officer in the hospital and stuff. So it's not uncommon for people to be released pending charges and released on conditions. Like, it doesn't, just because you get charged, especially
he's a violent offender though, like a proven violent offender. He assaulted a fucking police officer and a healthcare worker.
He was never charged for the first one. So charges could be pending on him for this one.
You put a police officer in the hospital for 4 days? Come on.
You'd be fucking surprised, my friend.
Oh, boys, he would get the shit kicked out of him.
You'd be surprised. So it doesn't really surprise me that he's out on the streets. He probably has some sort of bail conditions of no go, you know.
Stay away from full moons.
Stay away from full moons. So he again just has no recollection of the events after.
It's like every time this happens, his mind is just like wiped.
And again, he does not want to check himself into any mental health facility. He doesn't want to, charge himself into the care of the hospital. He's just like, nope, I'm going to deal with it myself. It's all good. And he leaves again.
Free man.
These things are obviously starting to ramp up, right? They're ramping up in severity.
It went 15 years, then 15 years, then 2 years, then 2 months. Like, it's fucking, here it comes.
So this one is probably the most concerning incident for me. In 1987. Yes, that's very true. Bill Ramsey, who is now known as the South End Werewolf, shows up at the police station, and in tow he has a young prostitute that he's encountered and decidingly placed into citizen's arrest. She's too young to be on the streets, so he picks her up and decides he's gonna take her in. He's gonna get her in there, and they're gonna charge her. I guess. Yeah. I guess is his story.
A lot of this doesn't add up.
Well, what happened was,
yeah, absolutely,
he picked her up. She overcharged him. He didn't like that. He took her into the station.
Fucking, all right, sweetheart, it's gonna be $100 for the hour.
No charge. Wait, how old are you?
I don't understand how this woman ends up in this guy's vehicle without there being some type of transaction. Like, why would she get in the car with him? Like, he'd be like, hey, come here for a second. You look too young to be being a prostitute. I'm placing you under citizen's arrest. And she'll be like, oh, okay, I'm busted. Like, get into his car? Like,
yeah,
what?
Hey, 13-year-old, what are you doing on the streets? Get in my car. Right? Like,
it's something like, you lure her in there with candy? Like, I don't understand.
But as he's worked up as he's picked her up and he's placed her under citizen's arrest, and he begins to snarl in the car, and he's feeling that rage as he's getting to the police station. But it's you know why?
She overcharged.
He got a little excited. His heart started beating. Heart attack. Werewolf kicked in the car. That's what happened here.
That's happened.
Good. Yeah. She didn't. And then she didn't like the sight of the red rocket. She just rejected him out. Right?
Are you telling maybe she charges? Maybe she charges more for doggy style.
Oh, wow.
She's not into doggy.
Wow.
What do you mean?
Oh, that's horrible.
You're under citizen's arrest. So they get to the police station, and for someone under citizen's arrest, she's so frightened now of Ramsey and what's happening to him. She bolts from the car and right into the police station, right? So Ramsey follows her in. He's enraged, right?
She's under my arrest.
Right? He's
Citizen's arrest.
Citizen's arrest. Arrest
I
that
declare
prostitute.
citizen's arrest.
Right? And, obviously there's a scene as they both burst through the door. So there's this young girl and this, this elderly, older man following her, screaming
like
citizen's
45.
arrest.
Yeah,
45, snarling and looking like, fucking... what's the hunchback of Notre Dame as he comes in there. And so a pretty big officer steps in front of him and says, hey, like you need to calm down.
Oi, governor.
And you need to like calm down, lower your voice and like explain what's happened here. He touches Ramsey's arm and
Big
this
mistake.
triggers the wolf baby because he then tackles the man. And he's screaming at him, the devil's inside me. I'm going to kill me. When the devil's in me, I'm strong.
I'm strong. Yeah, dude, that's fucked up.
And he chokes him. He is on top of him choking. And the officer's account is he thought he was going to die. He thought he was dead. Like he started to lose consciousness. He was blacking out. He was seeing spots. And the last thing he remembers is that a team of other officers tackle Ramsey off of him, but dude, he was fully going to kill this officer.
Dude, this is in a country where police fucking carry guns. He's dead.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is the States that would have shot the fuck out of him.
Oh yeah.
100%.
I don't know if they use silver bullets in the States, but still. I mean, they would have shot his ass.
And by all accounts, this officer that he choked out or was almost killed was a unit, like a fucking big fucking dude.
And he early retired. After this incident, he was so shooken up and it caused him so much trauma and stress that he retired right after this incident. He was like, I don't want any more of this shit.
Done with that. No more werewolves.
Man. Like,
no more werewolves.
Yeah. So the officers, sedate him. They're using.
It's super interesting because that was pretty curious to me because like I know sometimes in jails like you'll have like nurses and stuff that work in jail to monitor patients. In the UK and some other places, but in the UK especially, they have something called like a police surgeon. So they do have like a doctor on staff that can sedate people and like prescribe medicine. It's fucking amazing idea. Yep. It would just reduce so much strain off of healthcare to just have people treated within the cells. Like another really cool thing about the UK.
So they lock him up and him obviously in some sort of mental health crisis. They bring him to the hospital where he stays for 10 days.
They put him through the ringer of tests.
Right? They're checking everything. Like he almost killed a police officer. He has no recollection
for a second time. This is number 2. He just put another cop in the hospital for 4 days.
Oh yeah, the first one could have been just like a they're in a fight and he threw him and he got hurt. This one he was like legit going to kill him. Like
this is attempted murder.
He was
on a fucking law enforcement officer.
He was murdering him. If nothing else, no one intervened. Fucking wild. Werewolf. So he goes, he's in the hospital. They put him through the ring of tests and no one could diagnose his bizarre condition. Like it's just something is mentally up with this guy. And that's when we've talked about him, I think once or twice before on the show, Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famed, they call themselves like demonologists. These guys are from like the Amityville, Annabelle doll.
There's movies about them. You've seen the Conjuring, Poltergeist. You'd be hard pressed if you listen to this show and you don't know who Ed and Lorraine Warren are. You better hashtag look it up because they're big names, especially in this day and age of this time frame of in the realm of weird and stuff. Like they had performed exorcisms on people.
Well, they don't perform them themselves, but they investigate the cases and then assist and bring in like a priest to exorcise demons. So that's what happens. The news gets out about, the South End Werewolf, Bill Ramsey.
And Ed and Lorraine, they read about him in a paper, right? And they actually, are in London and UK and stuff, and they meet with him, and they were in conversations with him. And they go and they interview the police officers involved. And there's, you can watch interviews with Lorraine talking about, flirting with the cops to get them to talk. But the police, when she mentioned the werewolf, they knew Bill Ramsey. They knew
They
who
corroborate everything that Bill told them.
Right. So they're like, there's something to this, right? The police know about it. They're having these accounts from hospital staff. They're like, maybe this is legit. And it's funny because even Ed at the time he's like, hey, listen, we're already neck deep in telling people there's demons and doing this and ghosts and shit. He's like, if we start telling people we're dealing with the werewolf, we're gonna be the laughing stock. Like
he was worried about them, their like mission being delegitimatized, right?
Yeah.
But Lorraine like really had a connection to Bill, and she's like, I really feel for this guy. Like I truly believe him, and she kept having like premonitions about him and shit like that.
So this sincerity obviously played well and worked with Bill, because Bill agrees to travel to Connecticut with the Warrens to try to be, exorcise the demons by Bishop Robert McKenna.
I mean, so at this point in time too, there's only apparently 3 ways to cure lycanthropy, which is medically, where they'd use wolfsbane, surgically, where they'd go and literally remove the parts that were animalistic, like literally just cut them off. And then the third way,
silver bullet,
pretty shocking, is to cure it, not to fucking terminate it. The third way is, exorcism, which, it seems like the most reasonable choice out of all 3, I guess. I mean, maybe wolfsbane. Is wolfsbane hard to find? I don't really know
what wolfsbane is. Is some type of herb or what?
I'm sure.
A good question. Dan?
Dan?
What's wolfsbane?
So, he wants to do it. He just doesn't have the money to travel to Connecticut quite yet. But the frequency, duration, and intensity of his transformations are coming faster. They're increasing. He's getting more violent. And he is now somewhat of a little bit of a local celebrity because everyone knows that he's the werewolf. So he crowdfunds the tickets, right? He has a donation thing to help him try to get help for this. And basically the community supports him and they give him the money to fly to Connecticut.
Well, that was
It's interesting. Oh, go ahead, Zell.
I'm saying that was one thing I read, but I also read, which made more sense, that was actually sponsored by a tabloid paper called The People. They bought the rights to the story
for $20,000.
And they sent him to finish the exorcism because they wanted to write about it to make more, to get their money back. But either way.
I also I listened to it in an interview with Bill himself. I highly recommend every single fucking person listening to this go watch this fucking show, True or False. It was a 90s show from the UK. It might have been the greatest television I've ever watched in my entire life. They had a fucking George Michael lookalike being interviewed. It's just fucking phenomenal. Guy sounds like a crypt keeper. Watch it. Best 20 minutes of your day. Anyways, he said when he was being interviewed that the Warrens paid for it. He said it was a free flight. They paid for it. And so there's 3 different accounts. I definitely do believe that he made 20 G's off it, whether he used that for his trip
whatever the reason was, he didn't pay out of pocket. He got someone paid for him to go get the exorcism.
You put 2 cops in the hospital, you bite a nurse, and now you just made 20 G's and you're on your way to the fucking Connecticut.
An all expensive paid trip to
You're
Connecticut.
a celebrity. Like, all right, cool, man.
So they make the trip to the United States.
Him and his wife. So not just him and his wife make the trip to the States.
Now, this is the part of the story that was almost like kind of like glossed over. The night before the exorcism, he has one of these episodes, and it said that he tries to strangle his wife as she slept.
Yeah, and she was able to talk him down by explaining to him that she loved him.
Yeah, the sun's getting real
Power of
low.
love. Yeah, exactly.
The sun's getting real low, big guy.
Hey there, big guy.
But you know what, though? Again, it is kind of glossed over, but so is the fact that, he's having these so-called transformations, more frequently, and they're becoming more violently. So maybe she's kind of getting adept at kind of handling in it. But in this incident, she's just surprised by, getting choked as soon as she wakes.
Yeah, it's fucking wild. So night before the exorcism, tries to strangle his wife. She talks him down, Bruce Banner style, and then the exorcism starts. And there's about 30 minutes where he's not convinced. He thinks it's not compelling. Nothing's happening.
And they're prepared. They have 6 people with stun guns there, like ready to
they're not
subdue
fucking
him.
around. We're in the States too. Like we're packing.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
ready.
they're like,
Bill
"Oh,
gets a
listen."
little too crazy.
Yeah.
We're going to put some freedom into him.
Yeah. No tags required for werewolf.
Open season on Werewolf.
You know they got silver bullets. You know, just in case.
And then after about 30 minutes, something snaps in Bill Ramsey. The characteristics of the wolf take over. His back curls, his arms, his hands go. They fucking curl, his fingers curl into claws. And he snarls and growls, starts chomping.
And they're, from varying accounts that I read at this stage, is that they're trying to subdue him. The bishop is, doing
The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you.
and the sight of the cross is setting him off.
And apparently this is like Bishop Robert McKenna, who's somebody that the Warrens have frequently used for exorcisms. Like, this guy's fucking pro. He's
the best of the best of the best, sir. He's the Jesse Ventura of exorcisms.
Absolutely. Like, he knows too. He's like, he was being interviewed. He's like, I know I might fucking die.
Right?
Right? He knew he was walking into the shit, but he's like, it's Jesus, man. Got to do it.
So he's the power of Christ compels you, leave demon, like he's ordering this demon to leave Ramsey and leave his body. And Ramsey is seemingly just, he's hitting a new level of wolf here. He's more strength. The rage is violent. His blood vessels are popping. His veins are popping. He's in full body, like atrophy of just like seizing up and just violent by all accounts.
And then it stops. The werewolf curse seems to have lifted.
Cool breeze just goes by.
Sucks it out of him.
Yeah.
So they say. Because no more incidents after the exorcism were reported. Bill Ramsey seems to be cured.
Yeah, like he's done interviews since this. Like, last one was in like 1992, being like, I haven't had
an issue since.
I'm good. Things are great. Like, they cured me.
Part of me was like, have 15 years passed? Yes, 15 years have passed since the last incident. There's been no more incidents. This seemingly, solved the issue.
But like, think about that, right? Like, it's fucking nuts. Because if it was mental illness, you're not being cured by fucking exorcism.
No.
Let's say it's lycanthropy. You're not getting cured by a exorcist. That's not happening. You're still going to be mentally ill after this. Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Cure is a cure. Like, you're not sick anymore. And just if it's an exorcism, you can't cure a medical disease with an exorcism. So we know. Like, you can't just go into a mental patient and be like, he's got a demon, and go and exorcise him. It just doesn't work. But in this case, something happened and it is gone.
Well, I kind of like looking into this one, and as we're getting into the werewolf, and they thought it was like some sort of like wolf demon, like right, that was possessing him. That kind of gave me some interesting thoughts of that. I never thought of werewolves in that kind of realm, because stories and legends of werewolves and this kind of stuff go back hundreds of years, right? And Dan said something one time on one of the shows a while ago of like, maybe these kind of spirits and stuff were more prevalent, but as time go on, our brains have evolved to kind of block out whatever wavelength is, like a defense mechanism against these things that feed off our fear and stuff like that. He kind of said that. So my kind of thought that was popping into my head when I was thinking of this, if this is some sort of wolf demon, he's not like, we see the movies of someone turning into a physical wolf, but maybe back in the day when he's possessed like that, you would see like him take the form of a wolf, right? But we just have evolved to have these barriers in our brain to like block that out, that fear aspect of it out. So now you just see a man acting like a wolf, because that was the surprising thing to me, because everything else kind of lines up other than he's not growing claws and fangs and stuff. He's just, he gets that hunch and look. But I was kind of wondering, like, that's interesting. I wonder if this is, kind of what Dan said, where it's like we've grown to, build these barriers. And maybe he was, not quite. Well, you look at him, you're like, maybe he's not quite as evolved as the rest of us. So he was a little more susceptible to
ruthless here. Cro-Magnon man over here. Fucking
well, yeah, I mean, look at him.
Oof. Look him up.
He looked like he dragged his hammer behind him. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it was a club.
Oh no.
That's all I'm saying.
That's all he's saying.
But that was kind of my thought. It was an interesting take that I thought. I was like, oh, I never thought of a demon could be cause a werewolf.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, well, I always heard, werewolves. Like from all video games and stuff, you become the werewolf. You turn into the wolf. You gain the wolf-like powers. You have the bite and the claws, and you can run really fast. But yeah, as a demon, just possessing you, and even if the stories were never like, because a lot of historical stories are taken literally. Like he changed into a wolf. He didn't change physically. Like he didn't grow hair and fangs, but the body of this man became a wolf.
What if it's like let's say, whatever the originator is, let's say it's potentially like a gypsy curse, whatever, that you've been cursed, turned into a werewolf. What happens if it was like it was like far back in his lineage and it just gets passed down in his genetic? And and like at this point in time, it's gotten down so much to the point where he only turns into a werewolf occasionally, and he's not, growing the hair or the teeth or anything like that.
He only turns into a werewolf when he's having a jammer.
Yeah, that's it, right? To protect himself. And that's your body you'd want to pass that genetic advantage down, right? Because it's a healing factor.
Yeah, 100 generations ago, it was like you couldn't turn it off. Once you became the wolf, you were the wolf, and you were just killing people till you were killed.
And maybe he's an orphan. He doesn't know. We don't know this. Or maybe that his family has like gone to extreme lengths to like bury this and hide it.
He didn't do
maybe that's why his family never brought him in to get fucking testing, because they knew and they didn't want to talk about it.
Oh, shit.
Or maybe he's just a guy that likes to pretend to be a werewolf and is a piece of shit and bites people. And then Ed and Lorraine showed up and was like, listen, motherfucker, if you want to be in The Conjuring 3, you better cut this shit out. We exorcised you and you're cured. Okay.
Yeah. You pay your tabs. Here's 20 grand.
Yeah.
Square up, bud. Square up.
Every now they're like, hey, Bill, it's your turn to buy around. He's like,
no.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Non-werewolf disclosure agreement. The other thing is like Ed and Lorraine Warren are obviously polarizing figures in, these kind of cases, because some people believe them wholeheartedly. And to be honest, some of their cases are, have a lot of evidence backing and are really interesting. And then there's other cases where they've seemingly, I'm going to try to refrain from just saying they've been caught in outright lies, but they've been caught in situations where they could, if what they're saying is true, they could easily prove it, because they always say they document everything and they just don't release the footage for safety of spreading these curses and stuff. But I'm like, some of the things they've been caught up in, it's not a good look, right? So it's a lot of people, when they see this thing, they see these two people as capitalizing on these kind of stories. So that is unfortunately a possibility. But
it is, but at the same time, you're like, not just Ed and Lorraine Warren. There's so many cases of like just weird shit. You're like, personally, I've always just believed like there's got to be something more. Well, like it's easy to say, oh, you can't see it and you can't document it, therefore, like it can't be scientifically repeated, therefore it doesn't exist. Well, maybe we're just not there yet. Like, like modern science isn't not that old. As far as as far as like humanity goes, like if we've been around for, I don't know, they keep pushing it back 3, 4, 500,000 years with the same brain capacity, and only in the last couple 100 years, 300 years, we've gained modern medicine like surgeries, and now we're just starting to understand the human brain and like mental disorders. Like we don't really know. Like we're just to say like we know everything. No,
absolutely.
Fuck no. I mean, no chance.
That's what's kind of tough for me, is because like I have seen severe mental illness that has looked very similar to this, and but like nothing he was able to do is been overly remarkable from that standpoint, right? Like I've seen people who have been in states of excited delirium that have been able to wrestle off that many people and cause that type of damage and do these type of crazy things. But like you said, Zal, like who knows what the root problem is at? Do we know, like we get these people in a psych ward and we sedate the fucking shit out of them. They're living these tranquilized lives from that point. And maybe they are able to, you know, suppress whatever fucking animalistic urges or whatever demons are inside them. Maybe that's what these drugs are able to do. Who fucking knows, man? It's wild.
Like the strength thing.
Because that's real. I've seen it. It's
that's what I mean though. Like the strength thing, like humanity, they always say like your body always shuts off before it hurts itself. So in the cases where like you have mental disorder, or in the cases of like an extreme fight or flight, that is switched off.
Or unless your friend's calling you out while you're deadlifting and you herniate like 2 discs just to fucking prove them wrong.
That's what I mean. Like humans are like, we quit well before we're going to hurt ourselves. That's just a natural human instinct. So if you can if whatever happens and that gets turned off, you're actually way stronger than you are. But if you use that strength, you either pull your tendons out of your fucking fingers or like. Dude,
I'm telling you, little man syndrome is it's a problem. It's
how tall is Bill Ramsey?
Yeah, there you go. Oh, that's what it is.
Bill Ramsey, little man syndrome.
I'm telling you, man, that's real.
But yeah, it's a wild case, and like it's a known mental condition. Like think you're a wolf or an animal, but in this case, it's different. Isn't it happened like it would only come like in sporadic bursts through his whole life with 15-year gaps between the situations.
In every other aspect of his life, he is thriving. He is living a normal day-to-day life.
Yep.
Yeah. Family, kids, job, right? And then that's to me was what's remarkable at this situation.
The other thing, other than the kid, like the kid, when he was a kid, like that one's weird because it's like I don't know why he would be, but the other ones where it's like he's going in because he's having these issues where he's thinking he's having a heart attack. I'm like, that's an interesting line. And then you get him in this basically this high stress thing where he has an underage prostitute, which is fucking none of that fucking lines up. It doesn't add up. It's weird. I don't know how you get a 13-year-old or 14-year-old in your car, find out she's a hooker, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, citizens arrest. Well, okay, let's give Bill the benefit of the doubt here. Let's say he pulled over the side of the road and she came and said, she was like, hey, can I get a ride? And he's like, sure, jump on in. And she goes like, $20. And he's like, what? $20, whatever you want. He's like, well, what are you talking about? How old are you? And she's like, 14. And then she's like, anything you want. He's like, you a prostitute? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, there's one thing I hate more than heart attacks. It's hookers. Ladies of the night.
Sex workers.
I don't know what the acceptable term is. I forgot.
It's
not me. That was Bill Ramsey.
Sex worker.
Yeah, sex worker. That wasn't me. That was werewolf Bill Ramsey.
If we've used any other term throughout this entire podcast, apologize. Sex worker. That was uninformed of us and shitty. So
it was the werewolf.
It was the werewolf in us. Absolutely. Yes.
The blind rage because I don't even remember.
I can see Zell's face. He's like, okay, time note here, time note here. Get rid of that.
What happened? I don't even remember recording this episode. You're not angry.
Oh, fuck, I'm gonna get more 1 stars again.
Hey, you know what? No one reviews the show anymore anyway. You can say whatever you want. We've been shadow banned from all the internet. Don't worry about it.
This is a really interesting case. If you don't know it, you're interested. There's a ton on it. It's surprisingly how much there is. And unlike a lot of cases where it's secondhand, third-hand accounts or just written, there's fucking interviews with these people that you can watch.
Yeah, police officers that are still working at the time of the interview.
Bill Ramsey, right? The Warrens, like they openly talk about this in interviews. So it's an interesting one because you can hear it from the people that were involved. And then you can listen to all the accounts, hear them out, and draw your own conclusions, right?
100%.
Because something happened. We know for a fact he was doing this weird shit, going into these violent rages where he acted like a wolf. Now, the cause of that and the solution was 20 grand just a perfect, so like, oh, I'm healed, right? It seems weird that these are spread out. So make your own conclusions. Look it up. listen to this. Let us know what your theories are. We want to know as we have these conversations. It always someone always has another piece to the puzzle, so we want to hear it.
Yep. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Go look us up. Drop us a message. We usually always respond.
Yeah.
We're pretty good.
Pretty good.
All right. Who do we got this week for Theorite of the Week?
This week's Theorite of the Week has been playing an integral role in our Discord. Been really helping a lot of people out and, spreading a lot of information and inspiring a lot of fucking other fellow people on Discord who are kind of trying to take this new fitness journey that we've kind of inspired with. We do a show called the Dad Bod Pod on our bonus content. And this guy's kind of like been, he's not part of the pod, but he's been really doing his best to carry that group lately. And that's my fucking boy Faction. Faction. Check out his clothing line too. He's
Get Faction. Get Faction.
Right? Yeah, the guy's a huge beauty, very informed. I think he used to be a bodybuilder back in the day, filled with tons of knowledge, fountain of knowledge there, He's
just a fucking super nice guy. We met him in Austin and just a real fucking stand-up
He's also got a ghost story. Did he call in with it? Did I miss it?
Not yet.
No, he didn't call in with it yet.
Call in with that shit.
He told me the story in person and it gave me chills. And as he told it, I could see the goose pimples on his arm. I was there. I wholeheartedly believe his ghost story. It's fucking
absolutely.
It's a good one.
On that topic of fitness and stuff, this will be the only time we mention it on the main show. You can go follow The Running Challenge. Has its own podcast. The third annual Running Challenge is starting when you're listening to this on the public feed. It's starting right now. Right fucking now. So get out, get running. Go to The Running Challenge. Search it on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you find podcasts. It should be available. If not, there's also, we're putting them for free on our Patreon feed because they go instantly there. We know they're going to be there. So you can find the Patreon, alientheorist.com. Join the Running Challenge. Winter's over. Lose that dad bod. Join us. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. We heard your complaints last year about talking so much about running through the month. So limited edition show.
Fuck snooze fest.
Fuck yeah. So new show, The Running Challenge podcast. You can't miss it.
That's what we should have called it. Cardio.
Absolutely. Fuck cardio. Lift weights, get dates.
All right. Speaking of Patreon, you know where to go. Go to alientheorist.com, hit the support link, get access to our bonus feed, the ATT classified feed, all the merch, everything to support your boys, your favorite show, alientheorist.com. This week's new supporters, Josh Sheffield, Aaron Pluckard, Ferdy Teakin, a full year pledge by Trevor Byrne, Woo! JP Prinsloo, Nicholas Worrell, Michael Nernick. That's a tough one. I don't know if I got that one. Rachel Fitzgerald and Daniel Sabrero. Thank you very much for supporting the show.
And as we always say at the end of these things, keep those eyes on the skies.
See you in after hours.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today. The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.